If you've been agonizing over how to treat your osteoporosis, this may be the most important video you've watched. Let me guess, your doctor told you that if you don't take the osteoporosis drugs that they prescribe, you're going to sneeze or twist the wrong way and fracture every bone in your body. You're in for a treat because the research I'm about to show you will change everything that you think you know about bone health and will prove to you that the drugs aren't remotely as effective in preventing fractures as a natural lifestyle approach. And that's coming from a pharmacist. I'm Dr. Hinish, 25 years helping women build stronger bones naturally, and I just discovered breakthrough research that makes every osteoporosis drug look outdated. This evidence is so important that I'm even a bit embarrassed I didn't report on it sooner. But before we get into the video, if you're interested in the topic of natural non-drug solutions to osteoporosis, be sure to click the like, subscribe, and notification bell below. Exercise beats out the drugs for fracture prevention, and the most shocking part is, it isn't even close. Beyond that, it's no secret that the osteoporosis drugs have major and often devastating side effects. Meanwhile, 415 women used a natural approach, which we'll discuss. This natural approach led to 0 treatment-related fractures, 0 side effects, bones 29% stronger in 8 months. Most doctors don't know about this research yet, but you're about to. $57 billion. That's the osteoporosis drug market. But here's what's concerning. Women taking these drugs are still experiencing fractures at alarming rates. And what about those side effects? Osteonecrosis of the jaw. It's rare, but when it happens, your jaw bone dies and crumbles. But here's what's more concerning. There's no way to reverse it once it starts. Then there's atypical femoral fractures. The drug designed to prevent breaks can actually cause a different type of fracture called a fragility fracture, where the thigh bone could break in half without any fall or trauma. Imagine getting up to walk to the bathroom at night and the thigh bone just fractures for no apparent reason. But here's what's most concerning. These medications create dense but brittle bone, like concrete that shatters instead of bending when under stress or load. Now, here's the breakthrough that should change everything. Take a look at this diagram. This shows how much each drug improved bone density compared to exercise. Exercise did worse than every drug. In fact, when you take into account the impact of bone density alone, it isn't even close. The osteoporosis drugs win every time. What's going on there? Is this where I say I got it wrong and start recommending pharmaceuticals? Not so fast. Let's add in the fracture risk reduction bar into the chart. First, let's add it in for the drugs. Okay, not bad. The drugs do have a modest effect on fracture risk, especially the anabolic drugs like Forteo. Now let's add in the fracture risk reduction for exercise. When researchers compared exercise to drugs for fracture prevention, exercise didn't just match the drugs, it significantly outperformed them. 50% fracture reduction versus on average 20 to 30% for drugs. And that's only as long as you take the drugs. But here's what's most exciting. Exercise addresses the root cause, while drugs only treat the symptom. Fractures don't happen just because you have low bone density. They happen when you fall and your body can't handle the impact. Drugs do nothing to prevent the fall. Exercise prevents both the fall and makes your bones strong enough so that it can handle it in the unfortunate situation that the fall occurs. Take a look at this. This is a chart of all the biological effects of the drugs. The drugs increase density and can have a modest effect on the architecture of the bone. That is for the short term. Not too impressive. Now let's look at the biological and physiological effects of exercise. As you can see, exercise improves bone density, but it also increases muscle strength, improves balance, increases mobility, increases physical function, decreases the hump posture called kyphosis, decreases pain, decreases arthritis symptoms, decreases diabetes symptoms, increases muscle mass, and improves gait. All things that dramatically decrease fracture risk by decreasing your likelihood of falls. That's impressive. You can see that exercise seems to have a plethora of benefits to the body that lower fall risk, fracture risk, and frankly, make your life better rather than worse. Contrast this with the side effects associated with drugs. I've seen 70-year-old women go from being afraid to pick up their grandchildren to confidently hiking mountains. I've watched women reverse years of bone loss without taking a single medication. And the best part, they're not just surviving, they're thriving. Researcher and clinician Dr. Belinda Beck asked the question that changed everything. But before I tell you the question, let me show you why this question is so revolutionary. Traditional medicine treats bones like static structures, but breakthrough research revealed they're dynamic, living tissues that rebuild themselves every single day based on the demands that you place on them. It's called Wolff's Law, discovered in 1892, but somehow forgotten when drugs became the default solution. Wolff's Law simply states that your bones will get stronger when placed under heavy loads or when they experience regular impacts like heel drops and jumps. This is why bodybuilders and gymnasts have such strong and dense bones. So what was Dr. Beck's game-changing question? Here it is. What if we've been approaching bone health from the wrong angle entirely? Instead of trying to inhibit bone loss, what if we tried to build stronger bones by placing heavy loads on the bones on a semi-regular basis? She developed HIRET, high-intensity resistance and impact training. It sounds intense, but wait until you see what happened to the women who tried it. 29% thicker bone cortex in just 8 months. Not superficial density that DEXA scans measure poorly, actual structural strength that prevents real-world fractures. You see, density speaks only to the amount of mass within a section of the bone, without speaking to what that mass is made of. Take these two people who both weigh 220 pounds. Same mass, different material. Let me ask you another question. Would you say there is a difference in strength between these two people who, once again, weigh the same 220 pounds? Of course. Similarly, DEXA tells you nothing about the material in the bone, only the mass per square centimeter of bone. With drugs, you get more mass, but the material inside is littered with microcracks that accumulate the longer you take it. Check out this video for a discussion of the impact on bisphosphonates on bone quality. Link is in the description. This is why there are no osteoporosis drugs that are recommended for life. In the first few years, more density may be better than low density, so your fracture risk drops a little, even if that bone mass is poor quality material. Eventually, though, you accumulate so much poor quality bone that you're likely better off quitting the drug, or as they say in the medical community, you take a drug holiday. Exercise is the only strategy proven to increase density and improve bone quality, resulting in significantly lower fracture risk despite producing less impressive bone density improvements. Best of all, unlike the drugs, the longer you implement an exercise and lifestyle program, the better your bones get and the stronger your body, muscles, metabolism, brain, and joints get. But here's the part that amazed even the researchers. These weren't young, healthy women. These were women with diagnosed osteoporosis doing serious strength training, and guess what? 0 exercise-related fractures. And I'll show you exactly how this level of safety was achieved when we explore the 4 principles that make this approach so effective. That's coming up. This wasn't just happening in one study. Dr. Beck replicated these results repeatedly. The LIFT-MORE trial, the MED-X-OP study, real-world clinical practice. The results are consistent and extraordinary and confirm other research demonstrating both the internal and external benefits of exercise to the skeleton. Let's take a sidebar and discuss something important. When I say the results are extraordinary, I need to qualify exactly what I mean. In the case of exercise, I am speaking specifically to fracture risk. When we look at the decrease in fracture risk associated with exercise, the results are, in fact, extraordinary and superior to drugs. This is where your doctor and I may disagree. You see, your well-intentioned doctor believes that bone density and fracture risk are directly correlated. That means they believe that higher density always results in lower fracture risk. If this were true, then their belief that osteoporosis drugs are superior to exercise would be accurate because the drugs do, in fact, seem to produce more bone density improvements than exercise. This study, however, suggests that not only are they incorrect in their assumption that better density results in better fracture risks, they're wrong in their belief that drugs are the best solution. Let me get a little sciencey on you. I promise I'll keep it short. What are we measuring when we look at bone density on a DEXA report? A DEXA measures how many grams of minerals are packed into a square centimeter of bone. Take a look at this Lego model of bone. This represents a cross-section of a long bone such as the thigh. Bone density simply measures how many grams of minerals are found in each square centimeter of bone. It would be like taking one piece of Lego out and reporting on how much plastic there is in this one Lego. Most osteoporosis drugs work by decreasing the removal of minerals from the bone, and thus they retain more old bone. Over time, you accumulate poor quality bone. Kind of like finding that your house foundation has been eaten by termites, and rather than killing the termites and removing the old termite-laden wood, you simply add more wood and hammer it into the crumbling foundation. It's stronger for a short period of time. Eventually, however, the termites will eat through the new wood just like they ate through the old wood. Soon, the home will crumble, even though there's a lot of wood technically in the foundation. Here's what's interesting. Exercise does increase the bone density a little. However, it does something that drugs can't. It actually leads to more bone being formed, which increases the diameter of the bone. In the Lego model, it means exercise causes more Legos to form, which makes the bone bigger and stronger, even though each Lego contains the same amount of plastic. So when we do a bone density of someone who exercises, the density may only change a little, while the bone quality and thickness may change significantly. It would be like killing the termites, replacing the old wood, and adding more wood to strengthen the structure. Here's another important distinction. With exercise, we're not talking about temporary improvements that disappear when you stop treatment. We're talking about fundamental changes to your bone architecture that continue protecting you for years. I know that this is a lot to take in, so I've put together show notes for this episode so that you can get the most important highlights. You can download it using the link in the description below. It's completely free because I believe every woman deserves to know about this breakthrough. The researchers in this study outline 4 breakthrough principles that most people never learn about exercise. Principle 1, bones respond to dynamic stress, not static holds. They need movement with resistance, not gentle stretching of the muscle. Think of your bones like a construction site that never closes. When you live sedentary, the demolition crew keeps working, but the construction crew barely shows up. Dynamic loading sounds the alarm. Suddenly, the construction crew works overtime. The first principle simply means that bones like to move. So do resistance training that involves pushing and pulling activities. Principle 2, bones adapt to progressive overload. They only get stronger when you challenge them beyond their current capacity. That's why walking isn't enough if you already walk regularly. Your bones are like the friend who only responds to drama. A gentle walk, they barely notice. Load them with significant resistance and impact, now they're paying attention. Then, as you get stronger, and this is key, add more weight and intensity to your workouts. If you're doing resistance training correctly, what's heavy today will be light tomorrow. As you gain strength, increase the weight. Take your time. No rush. Add a pound here and a pound there, but always be challenging your body. Principle 3, bones are remarkably efficient. Some research shows that just 4 repetitions of exercises may be enough to maintain bone, while just 36 repetitions of exercise could trigger massive adaptation. Now, what's a repetition? It is the lowering and the raising of a weight. For example, 1 squat is 1 repetition, or 1 chest press, or 1 leg press. Quality over quantity. You don't need 1,000 gentle taps. You need precise, purposeful stress. Putting this into practical terms, If you are doing sets of 8 repetitions per set, 5 sets of exercise are all that's necessary to load the bone and activate the bone cells. For example, that could be 3 sets of 8 repetitions of leg presses and 2 sets of 8 repetitions of squats. Now, you can do more to build more muscle, but once you hit 36 reps, your bone cells are activated. And as far as the bone health is concerned, your work is done. Principle 4, loading speed creates the signal. Think blacksmith shaping metal. Quick, purposeful strikes create change, not gentle tapping. If we're doing a squat, for example, we would lower the weight for 4 seconds and then we would raise the weight for 1 to 2 seconds. This is also why heel drops, stomps, jumps are so effective for building bone because they cause high-speed contraction of the muscles and high-speed loading of the bones. But here's the breakthrough that will save you months of trial and error. Your bones have a 90-day transformation window. Once you trigger this response, your bones undergo architectural remodeling. In about 90 days, you can literally change the internal structure of your bones to make them more resistant to fractures, regardless of whether you see changes in bone density, which generally takes longer. That means we're not just talking about density, we're talking about quality. Imagine the difference between a solid concrete block and a steel-reinforced concrete block. Same basic mass, completely different strength. That's what happens to your bones when you apply these 4 principles correctly. Now, I know you're thinking, this sounds intense and I'm worried about getting hurt. That's exactly why proper progression is so critical. These women weren't thrown into the deep end. They started with movements they could handle and gradually built their capacity. It's like learning to drive. You start in an empty parking lot, but eventually you build the skill to handle any road condition. Navy SEALs have a saying, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Take your time. Play the long game. But here's where this story gets truly incredible. Dr. Beck didn't just publish her research and walk away. She opened a real-world clinic to prove this works outside of the controlled studies. And what happened next amazed everyone. Women felt significantly more confident in their lives. And I can tell you that we've seen the same kind of result in the lives of the women that we've worked with at OsteoCoach. Women who couldn't lift their groceries without help. 12 months later, were deadlifting their own body weight. But the real transformation was in their confidence. Women who had given up active hobbies like hiking after their diagnosis. Soon they were back on mountain trails, stronger than they'd been in years. Women who were terrified of playing on the floor with their grandchildren. Now were able to get down and up without a second thought. And that change in their whole family dynamic was unexpected. 415 women, 4 years of real-world application, 0 exercise-related fractures, regardless of their T-score. This safety record is what's starting to convince medical professionals worldwide. These women weren't just maintaining bone density, they were actively rebuilding it. But the transformation went far beyond their bones. They reclaimed their confidence, their independence, and their joy in movement. That's when the real magic happened. Compare that to traditional approaches where women are told to do safe exercises like walking and gentle yoga, yet continue to lose bone density year after year. Which approach is really safer, maintaining weakness or building strength? The evidence is so compelling that medical professionals worldwide are changing how they approach osteoporosis. Physical therapists and exercise physiologists are being trained in this method. The old paradigm of be careful, don't fall is being replaced with get strong, stay strong. Unlike medications you take with diminishing returns, these bone architecture improvements are lasting. Women who completed this protocol years ago still show maintained improvements in bone strength and overall function. So the way I look at it, you have 2 paths ahead of you, and the choice will shape the next decades of your life. Path 1, continue with traditional approaches. Hope for modest improvements, manage side effects, live with uncertainty about your bone health future. Path 2, embrace this breakthrough approach. Build genuine strength. Reclaim your active lifestyle. Here's what makes Path 2 so compelling. and why timing matters for your success. Your bones are constantly remodeling. Every day that you wait is a missed opportunity for improvements. Every month you delay means starting from a slightly weaker baseline. But here's the encouraging part. You'll feel improvements quickly. Month 1, noticeable balance and confidence gains. Month 3, real strength you can feel. Month 6, capabilities you thought were gone forever. Month 12, bone architecture that protects you for years to come. I've compiled everything in this video into a comprehensive guide. It's completely free because this information should be accessible to every woman facing these challenges. You can download it right now using the link in the description below. Don't let another day go by wondering if there's a better way. There is, and it's right at your fingertips. The science is clear. The results are proven. The safety record is impeccable. The only question is whether you're ready to take an active role in your bone health recovery. Your bones are not your destiny. Your age is not a limitation. Your diagnosis is not a death sentence for your active lifestyle. You have more power over your bone health than anyone has told you, and it's time you learned how to use it. Picture this moment. 1 year from now, you're in the garden, kneeling to plant flowers. Your granddaughter runs over, trips, and starts to cry. Without hesitation, you stand up smoothly, scoop her into your arms, and lift her high above your head. She stops crying, laughs with delight, and says, "Grandma, you are so strong." That moment represents everything this journey is about. Not just bone density numbers or medical test results. It's about rediscovering the strong, capable woman you've always been inside. The constant background worry that used to follow you everywhere, that fear of falling, of breaking, of becoming dependent, it's replaced by something you thought you'd lost forever: confidence in your own body. You stand taller because your spine is stronger. You move with purpose because your muscles support you. You make plans for the future because you know your bones can handle whatever adventure awaits. That trip you've been putting off, you book it. That activity you've been avoiding, you embrace it. That life you thought was behind you, you're living it more fully than ever. Thousands of women are already living this reality. The research validates it. The safety record proves it. The results speak for themselves. It's time to take one step towards the future you deserve. Your bones have incredible potential for renewal. Your body is ready to surprise you with its resilience. And that confident, active woman you remember being, she's waiting for you to reclaim her. Don't spend another day wondering, what if? Click the link, get the guide, and start the transformation today. Your strongest years can still be ahead of you. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.